Check, check, check. Okay, now the audio is working. Sorry about that. Hi, I am Matt Bradley-Tschirgi, and we're taking a look at Return to Monkey Island news. It's been a little bit. I was in Costa Rica for a week for work. I might have more of a tan or not, depending on my shitty lighting in here. And we're going to be talking about the Grumpy Gamer blog, the official blog of Ron Gilbert, the creator of Monkey Island, and he's brought back, for the new one coming out later this year, Return to Monkey Island. He's had this blog since 2004, long time. He shut it down briefly recently because he was kind of, I think, pissed off and overwhelmed at some of the negative reactions to Return to Monkey Island, specifically the artwork. And we're just going to talk. I will read what Ron, I have trouble with the letter R. That's fun, isn't it? What he says in this blog and kind of give my commentary on it. This is my analysis. I have no insider information. I'm a guy. I do, as a disclosure, I do want to say I do work in the games and entertainment industry. But that being said, I'm just a fan of Monkey Island like everyone else. So here we go. When I made, if you want to read this blog, it's at grumpygamer.com. If you like what you're listening to or have ideas for stuff, feel free to chat away in the chat and do some, be sure to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/matwbt, and on YouTube, subscribe at youtube.com/sequelcast. Okay, there we go. Let's go. 9 years ago, I wrote a blog post titled, let me start from the beginning with the date. When I made another Monkey Island, May 1st, 2022. Yes, this is like 9 days ago. A bit late on this, sorry, but thankfully there has not been that much Monkey Island news in the meantime, so you'll get my news coverage when you get it. Hopefully it's soon. 9 years ago, I wrote a blog post titled, If I Made Another Monkey Island, and it feels like there are some things I need to say. Yeah, I mean, that's an understatement. This was kind of an infamous blog post, and it was kind of a pie in the sky. If Ron Gilbert owned the rights to Monkey Island, what would he do in a new game? And it was, kind of vague, not terribly specific, but it really got the fandom wishing for Monkey Island 3A is what fans would call it, kind of in its own alternate timeline. What if Ron Gilbert had stayed at LucasArts and made Monkey Island 3 instead of leaving to form his own company, Humongous Entertainment, that did a lot of very successful adventure games, primarily aimed at children, although adults have enjoyed them too, and I actually really should pick them up in some bundle sometime, like Freddy the Fish, and there's the ones with the car. I need to play those games. I haven't, but I've heard they're fun, and he's talked about design stuff with those before. Anyhow, a few things he needs to say. It's an understatement. There's been a lot of press, a lot of tweets, a lot of stuff on Return to Monkey Island, a lot of people bitching, and Ron isn't really happy about that. We'll see this later. I can't remember the exact incident, but the date I wrote that I was feeling down about never being able to make another Monkey Island. I wrote it in a single afternoon, and it was not much more than a stream of thoughts. In the movie version, tears would have been pouring down my cheeks, but it wasn't the movie version, so I was probably sipping coffee, as I'm doing right now, and eating a chocolate chip cookie. Yeah, in other words, what I think he's saying here is, it was just really off the cuff. He's had, everyone wonders, gee, if this original creator of a property could do the sequel, what would that be? Which fan speculation is fine. It's just sort of, again, my opinion, the militant nature of fans sometimes can be scary and inappropriate, and things like death threats are never okay. I don't understand why this happens to creators and things. I mean, you see it with Star Wars with, if George Lucas had done episode 7 through 9, I would have liked it much better. Perhaps it would have been the case, but fact is that's not what happened. Maybe we will get a what if, comic book about what that script would have been like or something. Or who knows, with all the multiverse shit going on everywhere, they could do a lot of different things. But back to the point, let's focus, stay on target of this Monkey Island thing right here. Whoops, wrong, it's reversed. Right here. Yay, I can use a camera. Back to the blog. My point is, these were not commandments handed down and etched in a stone on a giant tablet. They were just random thoughts about a, then very unlikely, new Monkey Island game. Yeah, he basically jotted notes and posted them. None of these are promises or anything I owe anybody. This part is really important. I'm going to repeat it. None of these are promises or anything I owe anybody. Why did I repeat that just then? Well, it's let's take a look. It's because people see this blog entry from all the way back in, it says 9 years ago. Geez, so that would, depending on how you count it, would be like 2013 or something along 2013, 2012, something along those lines, right? And he didn't commit to anything. He said these are some fun ideas, and people with speculation, as with the internet, but has always had this little bit with like, because I was on the internet back in the mid 90s where you had news groups, and I did BBSs with dial-up modems and stuff way before there. So I've been part of online culture for a while. I grew up with it really since I was 12, and with Twitter, with Facebook, with Reddit, things like this, there's a lot of good things and a lot of cool conversations that go on, but there's a lot of toxicity, a lot of negativity, and a lot of people thinking celebrities, or which you might consider Ron Gilbert is, depending on your fandom, or famous people really. Strangers think they owe or people think that strangers owe them things. And I agree with what Ron is saying here. That is not the case. Let's keep on going. People talk a lot about Monkey Island 3A. Again, Monkey Island 3A is what if Ron Gilbert would have made a new Monkey Island immediately after Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge. So back in the early to mid 90s-ish time, right? People talk a lot, I'll start that over. People talk a lot about Monkey Island 3 as if it was the game I would have made after Monkey Island 2 had I stayed at Lucasfilm. Okay, so he just said what I just explained. Here's the deal. So here we get like some new information going forward, I think, that gives important context that kind of invalidates a lot of impassioned, if not misguided, fan theories. Here's the deal. The totality of that idea was, quote, Guybrush chases the demon pirate LeChuck to hell, and Stan is there, end quote. That's it. That's all it was. When I read this in the blog, I would say not surprised, but I was more highly amused that this, really lore deep, complicated version of Monkey Island 3 that the fans had in their head never existed in the first place. It was only a loose idea, as all ideas are. And so let me speculate a bit on like what that could have been after I just was bashing speculating stuff. Guybrush chases the demon pirate LeChuck. Okay, Guybrush is the hero of all the Monkey Island games, kind of a clueless, hapless guy that wanted to be and became a mighty pirate in spite of himself. Not, this isn't like Rocky being a gangster breaking people's thumbs. I use Rocky all the time. It's one of my favorite films, right? He was a gangster kind of ruffian that broke people's thumbs, and then he became a boxer, an amateur versus pro exhibition match, and then he eventually became the character, became a pro. Kind of rags to riches thing. I think with Monkey Island, Guybrush is not that. He is kind of like a fan. He's a fanboy, right? He's like, oh, I want to be a pirate, and you could make that anything, right? Oh, I want to be a game designer. I want to be a musician. I want to be a content creator, or whatever you like, right? And he through kind of blundering his way through it, as a lot of us really blunder through life, if I'm being honest, achieves his dream of being a pirate. Chases the demon pirate LeChuck. Okay, LeChuck is the demon. He is the bad guy. And with that, it is really quite something. He's a bad guy that at the end of Monkey Island 2, it is teased that whether it's a hallucination or a spell or not, maybe Monkey Island is all just something in the heads of two little brothers, Guybrush and his little brother Chucky. And his parents are just looking for them in a theme park. And the whole Monkey Island series is just a figment in their imagination. Yet with this idea, it's Guybrush chasing who may or may not be his brother LeChuck to hell. The hell-like imagery was there in, I would say, the first game more than the second, when you go to the depths of Monkey Island and see where LeChuck and his ghost pirate ship are, and do what really is kind of an underdeveloped part of the game, but really looks quite cool looking. You have a lot of hell imagery with the fire, and I think you would amp that up, literally having Guybrush take LeChuck to hell. Stan being in hell, I love that idea. Stan is easily one of my top 5. I mean, that'd be a good thing for a video, right? My top 10 Monkey Island characters. But Stan, I think, is a top 5 Monkey Island character for me. It's a satire of used car salesmen, or anytime it could even be like as a tourist, you're in another country and there's a salesman that's really pushy. And it's just absurd to see a character like that put in a pirate setting, right? And he's trying to sell you a ship that's not very good, and the guy's just really annoying. And that he would be in hell. I hope we see some version of that in this Return to Monkey Island game. I think that has a lot of promise, and that's all the idea was. Is really something that spurs the imagination, which is how ideas should be. So we're going to keep on going with this article. Games, movies, and books don't come out fully formed. They start as a morsel of an idea, and then all the hard work begins. Roger Ebert had a great quote that I am constantly reminding myself of. The muse visits during the act of creation, not before. Had I stayed at Lucasfilm, I might have started with that idea, but by the time the game was done, it would have been something completely different and better. Yeah, that's pretty deep what Ron Gilbert is talking about here. It's that everything starts with the germ of an idea, and then you sort of expand upon it. And at some point when, you're in the zone, or some people say like you have the creative flow, or what have you, there's tons of hundreds or thousands of books written on the topic and essays you can read. None of which I can remember right now, but yeah, it's worth looking into that topic if you're a creative person, and you want to know kind of more about how creative people think. I don't use the term artist here because I think that's a little bit pretentious, but because to look at a piece of art, in my opinion, implies that you need a robust art history background to understand every single little reference that's being made in a painting. And I think artwork, whether it be a game or music or a drawing or fan fiction or what have you, should be available to everyone, and not have kind of the gatekeeping of, oh, you need to be an academic to enjoy something. And I say this as someone that loves academics, loves learning, loves teaching. But what he's saying here, and that Roger Ebert quote is quite good. The muse visits during the act of creation, not before. So ideas do not come out of someone's head fully formed, like a big lump. James Cameron, who directed, he still directs, but he did the movie Terminator and Avatar, and for both those movies, the original ones, the first ones, he had kind of a vision and a dream. And because he's also a painter, I'm not sure what medium he uses, but he gets up and he will do a painting based on his dream, and then kind of do the script based off that. And there's no real story. There's kind of loose imagery and something kind of abstract. I think it's kind of a fun way to do something, but kind of like Jim Cameron's paintings, James Cameron, whatever, it's all the same name. That's what Ron is saying here about the premise for Monkey Island 3A, quote, Guybrush chases the demon pirate LeChuck to hell, and Stan is there, end quote. Right? It's just that little thing. It never was anything further than that. The more you work on something, the more you change it, and you're trying to take an idea that's a grain of sand and make a whole beach out of it. And by the time you're done, it often looks very different than your first idea. But as part of the act of creation, and when you're collaborating with other people, it also gets better and better. It doesn't mean, of course, yes, you have bugs, you have things along the road. I've worked in different fields of software development for about 10 or 11 years now. So it's At some point you have to say something's finished, and you have to, as they say in the software industry, ship it, which is a phrase I love. You have to start cutting features and say, put the nose to the grindstone and say, okay, this is what we're going to release, and maybe it's going to work and be a success, and maybe it's not. But we finished something. On to the next thing. So let's continue on with this essay, and I hope this is not a 30-minute video, although if it is, so what? We've gone for 15 minutes so far of my blabbering. If you have any questions, feel free to throw things in the chat. And be sure to follow me here at twitch.tv/matwbt if you like what you're listening to. All right, and that is exactly what Return to Monkey Island is. When Dave and I first got together to talk about Return to Monkey Island, we had nearly a blank slate. We talked about ideas we've had over the past years, including one of mine where Guybrush wakes up 3,000 years in the future on a snowball Earth. Wow, that's crazy. So it would be totally removed from everything else, except everything's like a frigid wasteland, like in the remake of The Thing, or almost like the Ice Age and some of those Clan of the Cave Bear books by who's the authors, like Jane Owl or something like that. I probably have that name wrong. Okay, so we talked about my original Hell idea, but other Monkey Island games had already done much of that by pure coincidence, and there was little point in rehashing it. One thing I wanted to do was start the game right where LeChuck's Revenge ended, and that became the one unmovable stone. Yeah, that last bit he's mentioned in other interviews, and I think it's really important because people, the ending of Monkey Island 2, you can say it's Ron Gilbert and his team trolling the fans with a kind of what the fuck ending. Or you can say it's very deep and symbolic, it's literal, or it's kind of in my opinion, I think was the ending to Monkey Island 2 is an ending that was meant to keep people talking. This is the ending that I mentioned earlier, where you have Guybrush and LeChuck. They're children. LeChuck is Chucky, Guybrush's younger brother, and they're just kids lost in a theme park. And all of the Monkey Island games to that point are hallucination. They've tried to explain it in the other games in ways that aren't especially, or a bit too convoluted, and how they tap dance around all that stuff with Return to Monkey Island, I think will be really interesting. I am not a person that is extremely big on canon, and part of that comes from growing up reading a lot of comic books where they're just constantly reinventing things all the time. And I'm more interested, can you tell a good story, and not necessarily things like, oh, you missed the detail that Batman's nose was bruised in issue 237, and in issue 239 he takes off the mask and there's no bruise. Because of that, your story makes no sense. Like, I am not terribly interested in every little thing in the story lining up, right? I just want a good story that's entertaining, and hopefully it can make me think for a bit. I mean, for my money, what's a good story is something that you look at it, you enjoy it, and then later you think about it, and you're like, oh, maybe it could be about this other thing. And maybe you revisit it a few years when you're older, and then you have further insights into it. It kind of keeps on picking away at the back of your mind. So now he's going to get into the artwork, which I think is something people has had a bone of contention with. I'm okay with it. Keep in mind, all we've seen are screenshots and a teaser that had very limited animation, and people are drawing a lot of conclusions. I think when you play through the finished game, and I'm not talking about you see a Let's Play of someone else playing it, but you playing through it yourself, and people will come to different conclusions about it at that time. It's really easy to jump on conclusions and say negative things about a game, but until you've played a game, I think you need to play or, watch or read or listen or whatever. You need to experience a piece of art, I think, before you criticize it. What I'm doing here is, speculation, but I did read this blog post before talking, as off the cuff as this stuff seems. So now he goes into the artwork. I have made one pixel art game in my entire career, and that was Thimbleweed Park. Monkey Island 1 and 2 weren't pixel art games. There were games using state-of-the-art tech and art. Yeah, which is absolutely right. At the time, those games had tip-top graphics. LucasArts was very, very good about graphics and sound design in an era where a lot of other games weren't. So he goes into more detail about the technicalities. Monkey Island 1 was 16 color EGA, and we jumped at the chance to upgrade it to 256 colors. Monkey Island 2 featured the magical wizardry of scanned art by Peter Chan and Steve Purcell. Yeah, so Peter Chan and Steve Purcell did the background art for Monkey Island 2, and it was done with often with Sharpie. I believe it was like a pencil sketch, and then it went over it with Sharpie and stuff. And it would be, I think it was colored on the computer. The coloring part, I'm not too sure about, but the artwork of those two artists is melds well together, and it's very detailed. Steve Purcell is best known for creating and doing comics and working on the games for Sam and Max Hit the Road. Steve Purcell also had, it was like a co-directing credit on the Pixar cartoon Brave, the one in Ireland with the girl with the red hair. That one, the imagery I think is very pretty, and it's but the director got fired early on in production. There's a lot of kind of bizarre things about what happened with the production of Brave that I could talk about in a different video. Peter Chan, later worked with George Lucas and did concept art for Star Wars Episode 1 and 2 for the prequels, and I believe he's come back to do some things for Mandalorian and so forth more recently, since Disney has owned Star Wars. But they're both incredibly talented artists, and you look at the background art in Monkey Island, and it's just really, really extraordinary stuff, really trippy perspectives, good use of foreground, background, and creating three-dimensional like images with 2D imagery. So Ron Gilbert continues here. If I had stayed and done Monkey Island 3, it wouldn't have looked like Monkey Island 2. We would have kept pushing forward, and Day of the Tentacle is a good example of that. Yeah, so Peter Chan did the character designs and artwork, kind of led that style on Day of the Tentacle, and it looked, it still looks like no other game, really. It's very angular, kind of a minimalist thing as far as character designs. It's not realism, it's cartoony, and yet you can look at a character and immediately tell what kind of a person that is, which is really difficult to do. You want to have that good, The Simpsons does this a lot, but you want to have a good profile of a character, meaning if I was a cartoon character, let's say, and I'm looking like this, and you just see the shadow of that character on the wall, you should be able to tell who that character is and a few things about that character. It's a very, can be a very broad way, let's say, to design characters, but it also, sometimes you can have something look stereotypical as kind of a quick visual shortcut, and then, there's more meat to the character than just that. I'm thinking like Bernard in Day of the Tentacle, and he was in the original Maniac Mansion. Oh, he has big glasses. Oh, he has a pocket protector. He's a nerd. Which is, oh, yes, but there's other things to Bernard besides that. But anyhow, that's sort of the thought about this art style. Ron Gilbert continues, and some interesting notes about art from his other games. I never liked the art style in Day of the Tentacle. Technically and artistically, it was fantastic, but I never liked the wacky Chuck Jones style. Chuck Jones was he actually did consulting on Day of the Tentacle, but he was a director of several of the best of the classic Looney Tunes cartoons, including, was it One Enchanted Evening, the one about the frog that is becomes like a superstar and makes its owner rich and then poor again. That's an extraordinary piece of work. Chuck Jones also did other stuff that wasn't Looney Tunes, like he directed the adaptation of the Rudyard Kipling book, Rikki Tikki Tavi, which I recall being very enjoyable. But let's continue to here, and let's stop with my silly little tangents. Day of the Tentacle was Dave and Tim's game, Tim being Tim Schafer. Tim Schafer later went on to do things like Psychonauts. Psychonauts 2 recently came out, and Grim Fandango was another big one by Tim Schafer. They can do what they want. I completely supported that. Okay, so now he's going to jump into Curse of Monkey Island, the third game in the series. Curse of Monkey Island also took a leap forward. It introduced us to a fully voiced and taller, lankier Guybrush with painted backgrounds that were all the rage in the late 90s. It was very much a game of its time. I'm not sure if that's a backhanded slap or not, but certainly the art style was late 90s for Curse of Monkey Island. Oh, hey, Super Cop. Thanks for 007. Thanks for catching me live. I think this is Russell, I believe, right? Yep, I'm going to keep on going on this, and then I got working a little bit, but glad you can jump and catch me live for a minute talking about Return to Monkey Island. We're talking about Ron Gilbert's blog that he did about 9 days ago. That was a big to-do. So let's keep going down. Good, we're almost near the end of this, so this isn't running too long. All right. When Dave and I first started brainstorming Return to Monkey Island, we talked about pixel art, but it didn't feel right. We didn't want to make it a retro game. You can't read an article about Thimbleweed Park without it being called a, quote, throwback game, end quote. So Thimbleweed Park, for context, was the last thing that Ron Gilbert worked on. It was done with the pixel-style graphics, with the kind of, like Day of the Tentacle, Maniac Mansion style graphic interface where you click on the verbs to pick up things. I surprisingly have not played it. I've always meant to. I did play. They had sort of a free one-off thing that was developed early during the COVID-19 pandemic. That was quite fun, where you're going around taking pictures. And I really need to check that one out. I'm a bit embarrassed to say that I haven't. But regardless, he talks about you couldn't read an article about the game without it being called a throwback game. And I think that kind of picked at his, kind of bothered Ron Gilbert a bit, so we'll continue. I didn't want Return to Monkey Island to just be a throwback game. I wanted to keep moving Monkey Island forward because it's interesting, fun, and exciting. It's what the Monkey Island games have always done. Hey, Super Cop, what's your favorite Monkey Island game? You want to throw that in the chat? That could be a good thing to talk about. So he wanted to push the artwork forward, wanted to do something different to make it stand out, wanted it to be like, hey, this is what Monkey Island is. Right? I wanted the art in Return to Monkey Island to be provocative, shocking, and not what everyone was expecting. Rex is an amazing creative force, and we have a team of incredible artists, animators, sound designers, programmers, and testers, all pouring their souls into this game. And it's beautiful, and it's beautiful to play, see, and listen to. The music Michael, Peter, and Clint are doing is equally amazing. Michael, Peter, and Clint are composers from the old LucasArts games that worked on various Monkey Island games in the series. It's not ad-lib, Sound Blaster, or even Roland MT32 music. It's stunning, interactive, and recorded live. That's pretty neat. So they have used live instrumental recorded music in most, from Curse of Monkey Island onward, for the most part. There is some synthesized stuff in there, but that he talks about the music being interactive with live instruments is very interesting. In Monkey Island 2, there was a good part. So LucasArts had this thing called iMuse. Music was MIDI, right? So it was programmed into the computer. And depending if you had a sound card or not, it would sound like beep, 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 boop. Or, might sound something sort of like a trumpet. Different sound cards had different sound, is the point I'm trying to get at. But there was one section on the island in the beginning where you're there's kind of a hub, and you can go to different buildings, like a restaurant or a map maker, or go to the pier, things like that. And when you would walk to a different screen, it would do kind of a transition, and no matter what music notes are playing before, and it was probably like some Monkey Island thing. It's been quite a while since I played it, but it's like da 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 da, right? And then let's say you go to the bar, and then no matter what that note was, it would programmatically realize how to switch smoothly and transition to the music theme of the other room. So in this example, where I'm sort of making up some pieces of music, if it was like da 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 da, and you go into the bar, it would be da 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 da. I'm always off key when I do that stuff, but I think I'm trying to make my point here is this dynamic music thing that was very exciting. The X-Wing and TIE Fighter games used this a lot more when, you're under attack. The music would start going crazy and have more brass, and then might chill out a bit when you're killed all the bad guys in the area. And then it's going to be, the music's going to be interactive in some way while being recorded live. I wonder how they're going to pull that off. That sounds both technically and artistically quite intriguing. Always been a big fan of game music. Oh, and we just heard from Super Cop 007 here. He said his favorite Monkey Island game is the first one, Secret of Monkey Island. But Curse was really good as a more modern one, Curse being the third one. I think that's fair. I think the first one might be my favorite because I like of how heavily it leans into the pirate kind of Treasure Island tropes. And it just has a nice structure where you're on Melee Island, you're on the ship, then you're on Monkey Island. It doesn't try to overcomplicate the story. Curse of Monkey Island, I did like the lanky style and the look of the game. The fourth one, Escape from Monkey Island, was an early polygonal kind of 3D graphic game that I think looks horrendous even at the time. And it was like during an era of like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and they hadn't quite figured out the lighting and having enough high polygon models to have really strong artwork where the 3D graphics could look good and hold their own next to the 2D graphics. Some people really like how Escape from Monkey Island looks, but that one is just not quite for me. So let's keep on going here as he wraps it up. Return to Monkey Island may not be the art you wanted or were expecting, but it's the art style I wanted. And this is important. This is Ron Gilbert's game, right? If you don't like it, good for you, but he's going to make the game he's going to make. If you're really spending that much time and energy complaining about a game someone else, or this goes for anything really, a movie, a song, if you're really going to complain about that much about what someone else's makes, why don't you just make something yourself and see if you can sell as many copies as Monkey Island in this case? That's a great point from Super Cop. Of course, when you're 7, the first ones are tough to play. Yes, you have to have a good vocabulary to read it, and also the puzzles, the logic can be very hard. And sometimes this was done on purpose to sell more hint books. When I started this game, my biggest fear was Disney wouldn't let me make the game I wanted to make, but they have been wonderful to work with. It's ironic the people who don't want me to make the game I want to make are some of the most hardcore Monkey Island fans, and that is what makes me sad about all the comments. Return to Monkey Island is an incredible roller coaster. Get on and have some fun, or stomp out of the amusement park because it's not exactly the roller coaster you wanted. I hope you'll jump on with the rest of us. He adds a comment here that's a star next to that says 17, which I'm not quite sure what he's looking at. I assume he's responding to someone in the comments making. And then when it has a link to 17, it's going to that. It is in the comments. Hold on. Let's pull that up. Because I want to... I've been talking this long about it. I just want to get this part right. Let me do... There's not a thing called 17 here. Where's the asterisks? How weird. I'm not quite sure what he's referring to in this with the 17 thing. There could be something obvious I'm missing. Oh, that's a good point. Super Cop 007. Just imagine trying to play Leisure Suit Larry as a small child. Yeah, that series I didn't play until I was in high school, but I've certainly heard stories of kids trying to play it, to say nothing of the pop culture references in the quiz you have to pass to play Leisure Suit Larry in the first place, which now is, you really have to know older television. It's referring to things that are like 50 years old now, which there's nothing wrong with that. But Leisure Suit Larry, much like the American Pie movies, are very much product of their times and would be very interesting to look at through a modern lens. But we'll end it with this thing that Ron Gilbert says. The game would be the game I wanted to make. I don't want the pressure of trying to make the game you want me to make. So he's speaking to a fan, I think, here. I would vanish for long periods of time. I would constantly keep you up to date or be feeding the hype machine. I'd show you stuff that excited me or amused me. If you let me do those things, you will love the game. That I promise. And yeah, that is this essay titled When I Made Another Monkey Island from May 1st, 2022 from Grumpy Gamer. What do you think about it? You can post something in the comments below when this goes up on YouTube. If you like what you see, please give me a follow at twitch.tv/matwbt and subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/sequelcast. This is Matt Bradley-Tschirgi. I, for one, really enjoyed the Monkey Island games. I cannot wait for a return to Monkey Island. I did not think Ron Gilbert would work on another Monkey Island game in my lifetime. So that we're getting anything at all, I'm just floored by it, and I'm greatly looking forward to it, as well as replaying these other games, which I hope to do as streams, depending on time. Work has been busy, which is a good thing, but you make. I do these streams when I can, and sometimes they're late, and oh well, that's life. But also, if you like what I see here, you would like my podcast, Sequelcast 2 and Friends. We talk about movies, and lately it's been increasingly video game stuff. You can hear that over at sequelcast2.com or look up Sequelcast on anchor.fm. That podcast is part of the HyperX Podcast Network. HyperX is a great company that makes a lot of headsets. So I'm proud to be part of their podcast network. That has nothing to do with this stream, and I'm going to end it. Hope you like this discussion about Monkey Island. Remember, you can always use an extra banana. Good night, or good morning, as the case may be.